Ready, hot!
Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everybody. Going back and reviewing the Texas Tech game, I was very pleased overall with the overall execution of the team, really in all aspects. I thought offensively we did a really good job of mixing the run and pass, in particular in the first 2-3 quarters. Thought we ran the ball effectively, and then it helped set up some of the passing game. I thought Landry Jones, I think we averaged close to 5 yards a carry running the ball, and then Landry Jones was again really strong, good, 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I thought really played well. The receivers caught the ball well, got open, competed well because they, played some man-to-man and tighter coverage, and they were able to get open and do a good job that way, and we took care of the football. I think was a major factor in the game, because defensively, I thought we played a really excellent game when you could limit them to Daggy to just barely over 200 yards, 3 interceptions, only give up 1 touchdown until the last 5 minutes of the game when we got all our 2s and 3s in. I thought they played outstanding and limiting the run. We played the run great. And then we got pressured at the quarterback, forced some turnovers, covered great. I thought the secondary's coverage was really strong. I think we gave up only one big pass the entire day, and that was early. The rest of the time we tackled well in space. We were close in our coverage, made them compete for everything, and even the field goals that they got were, I think, 13 and 8 play drives where we made them really earn it. So I thought kicking game was great. Tressway averaged 45 yards a punt, had a 70-yarder into the wind, was big, and then Michael Honeycutt was really excellent with his field goals and his kicking, and Patrick O'Hara kicking off. Those guys all did a good job, and all those units, all the guys on them did a pretty good job. So it was a solid win, and one hopefully we can build on. I've said it a lot this week. Now, hopefully, we can get in a rhythm. We've had 2 off weeks. Everyone knows in the last 3 weeks, and it's everyone else has played 5 and 6 games. You're trying to. You only improve, I believe, not only in practice, but you really make your improvement. I think that when you're on the field, playing in game situations, and hopefully we could take some strides and keep improving. Some of the guys, it was exciting to see some of the young guys get in and do well. Deron Neal came in, and LaColton Bester, some young guys offensively, defensively, Julian Wilson, Frank Shannon, a couple of guys came in and really had excellent games in there. Some of the players of the game defensively up front, Casey Walker had a great game, and then Aaron Colvin, Javon Harris with the turnovers. Offensively, Justin Brown, Landry Jones were the players of the game, and then the kickers on special teams, all those guys did well. So leads us to this week, which is always exciting for everybody, both teams, all the fans, playing Texas, who, continues to be a great team. You see a lot of great personnel and speed, out there, the way they're playing. Offensively, you see Ash is, and really their willingness to throw it more with him and more consistently, but they still, you still have a strong running game that you have to deal with, which, and a really good running game that you have to stop first. And then defensively, a lot of pressure, and you've got to be able to handle that pressure and hopefully, keep your balance, run and pass. And then always in this game, turnovers are always a big factor. So that'll be, I'm sure it will be again here this year.
Tommy Tuberville said you did some offensive blocking schemes that they hadn't seen before. Did you tweak the offense some during the off week?
Well, the offensive coaches did, have some different wrinkles in what we're doing, and again, I think what everybody the misses, we had only played 3 games, so we haven't had opportunities to put everything in that you want to. But when you have an extra week, and they did adjust some things, and hopefully, and I still believe there's more upside there, that we can even be better at what we're doing running the ball, and we're going to keep working on it.
Did the offensive staff put Landry in a better position to succeed, or did he play better?
I think all of that. I think it's fair to say, in what we were doing offensively, we put him in a better position, and I believe also he executed better along with the guys around him. I think, too, you look at some of his throws where he's going to his third receiver, he was protected well and allowed to do that. So it all works together. It's never one guy. He, unfortunately, takes too much of the heat when it isn't right or it isn't as good as you want it to be. But it's everyone together.
Bob, a lot of those new plays that we hadn't seen in the previous 3 games, were those tech specific, or were they kind of, hey, let's make some changes?
Now we won't use them again. They were just for them. So.
But I mean, you put them in specifically for the tech game plan, or was it more of let's make these particular changes?
We just happened to put them in. I'm not going to sit there and detail why, when, and what. Other people determine what you're going to do the following week, so we'll see if we use them again.
Will Stacey McGee play?
No.
Do you have any?
No change on the suspensions. Okay, I'll announce when there's a change.
What about injuries?
I think Nila we're getting his MRI today, but I'm afraid it sounds like he's torn his anterior cruciate ligament is what we're expecting to hear, unfortunately. So feel bad for Nila. He's really been coming on, and just unfortunate, just one of those, twists, and so just makes us more thin in there.
Bob, the emergence of Franklin Shannon and Aaron Franklin on defense, the speed they can bring. You play Phillips a lot at tackle. Talk about some of these young guys that seem to be very athletic.
Some of these younger guys are coming on and really starting to figure it out and show that you can rely on them and they know what to do and they're starting to play well. So, and again, depending on how different teams play, these guys got excellent speed and quickness. So it's I think they're going to really help us.
Would Texas be considered a spread out throwing team in your mind, like Tech, or are they still more of a power running team?
They really do both. You'll see their sets where they're in heavy sets with fullbacks, tight ends, extra linemen, and then they'll mass substitute and they're in 4 wide receivers and 1 back, like you saw a week ago. Even though some of their plays are different, but you'll see some of the same formations with the 4 wide receivers also. So you get both.
They seem to have more confidence to run that offense, though, with Ash as a quarterback.
I'm not sure. Well, he's been their quarterback, right? I mean,
he took it over, but last year, what you guys played?
Yeah, I mean, just like you would expect, another year in the system. I think all of them, it's fair to say, again, not just Ash, but probably all of them feel more comfortable in their system the more you're in it.
Only got 2 passes thrown to him. Is that because of his shoulder, and how is his shoulder doing?
His shoulder should be fine. It was sore, but I don't think there's anything that'll limit him this week. So he should be out there, and no particular reason.
How did Miller play?
Played okay. Trey usually he ran the ball well. I thought he missed a block or 2, which is unlike him. And I got great confidence he'll correct it. I mean, Trey's a great player for us, and he ran the ball well and missed a block or 2, but again, nothing he won't correct.
Bob, you ran more of the 3 back than you had shown in recent games. Is that something you like? What do you like about that and the way it?
Well, it just gives you a lot. There's a lot to the different fits on where the defense has to, the different ways, the blocking schemes, I guess, that you can, the different ways you can run the ball. The keys are different for the safeties and linebackers, and it can make you get in the wrong position here and there, and hopefully you get a chance to find a seam along with blocking people out of seams. But there's some different reads in there.
You ran Whaley back-to-back plays. Was that it looked like the same play to us? Was it the exact same play?
Yeah.
You made 4 yards, and then you ran it again. He made 18. Did you just see something that said, if we just block somebody, all of a sudden this will
the first time we missed a safety, and which is unlike Trey. He was looking inside for him, and he was deep and outside and missed him, and he came up and made the play the next time he was able to get to him.
Bob, how good do you think this Texas defense is? Because they have really good players. They've given up a lot to OSU and West Virginia, but they're a talented bunch.
Yeah, they are talented and a good bunch, and again, it's hard to determine, having the gauging the offenses with Oklahoma State and West Virginia, and how much is it them, how much is it they've so anyway, I believe they're a really good defense when you look at them, the personnel running around, and they can get you in some bad plays. They've been big force in getting to the quarterback, getting sacks, getting some turnovers. So you just have to be, hopefully you can block them up when they are stunning, and sometimes create your own creases, I think is what's happened. Sometimes, as people always think blitz is always the answer, sometimes you blitz right into what they want you to. I know we're always very aware of that defensively. So anyhow, I think that's happened a little bit.
Bob, in the secondary, it seems like you guys are playing. How well are you playing back there?
Really well. I thought the guys were excellent. Really the last several games they've really covered well, and that's a team you don't hold down much like that. Not many people have.
You said that Coleman is emerging as one of the best corners you've coached. He says he's priding himself on being more physical. Could you talk about that angle of his game?
Well, a corner can only be so physical Aaron has no problem. He played safety a year ago, coming up, tackling, those kind of things, and he's a great cover guy. He's a great athlete. He's got great ball skills, and he's highly competitive. He's a guy that really takes pride every day in how he plays. Even out there against the scout team, he can't stand it if they catch one ball on him. So he's really playing great.
Just how versatile is he? We saw him making plays at the line of scrimmage, blitzing, breaking passes up 40 yards downfield.
Aaron could play anywhere. Like I said, he played the whole year a year ago at safety, and if we played him there, he'd be a great safety too. So he can do whatever you need him to do, really. He's got size. He's got, again, great ball skills, and he's tough.
You didn't seem all that fired up about the interference call on him.
Well, they can't hear me on the other side, and there was no sense. I was yelling at the guys on my sideline. They didn't seem to care. They didn't make the call. So I guess my only feeling was what I was saying to them is, if they're going to call it that way on that sideline, why don't you call it the same way on this sideline? That's what I think all coaches just want it to be called similarly, not different on one side of the field than on the other.
Aaron himself seemed to ramp up his game after that. He sort of took over after that with a variety of big plays.
Well, I'm sure it made him angry, that he didn't feel he did interfere him, and so.
Well, everybody's asking questions that we asked last year about how the defenses stop these offenses. One of those things is, making those calls on pass interference, offensive holding, whatever. Can officials do something to make more of an emphasis on what is and what is not, pass interference, to give some of these quarterbacks a chance to have more success?
I think it's just all judgment. That we're aware of how they're supposed to call it, and then it just gets down to judgments. I think you just have to stay competitive with it, and that's all you can do as a DB. And hope their judgments, again, as long as it's the same for both teams and on both sidelines, not one crew on one sideline calls it one way and the other two guys on the other sideline are calling it a little bit, hey, like in basketball, let's let them play a little bit, and the other side is saying, no, we're not going to let them play a little bit.
Is there anything that, when you see the way calls are made, that you wish that there would be more emphasis, or things aren't?
Well, one thing that just really bothers me is offenses can do about anything to a DB, and they hardly ever call offensive pass interference, where DBs barely touch a guy and it's interference, And I'm not saying us, I'm saying across the board it seems that way.
I guess Chris Spielman said on the broadcast that you don't have NFL-type talent on defense.
Well, I don't, what is Chris Spielman? I mean, you know, that doesn't matter to me, his opinion. I mean,
Well, do
I
you-
bet we end up having guys in the NFL, so.
As good as your pass protection was at Tech, keeping Landry as clean as you did, does Texas not represent a step up in class in terms of Okafor and Jeff Coates?
Oh, they're great rushers and defenders, and so definitely they're a handful to manage and handle. There's no question about it.
Priority one, protecting Landry.
Sure, and running the ball.
You talked about how the bye weeks kind of prevented you from showcasing the improvements that the team made in practice for 2 weeks at a time. What sort of changes do you expect to see in the team's attitude and performance now that every week is a game week and you're going to be practicing?
I just expect them to continue to work hard and in practice and in their preparation. And hopefully if we could start, you know, as we start playing week to week, we can, you know, continue to take steps and make improvements, you know, on the field.
Does this game have any different feel to you since you both have both lost at home, and you're not?
No.
Usually you guys are playing for the title the second week of October. Now you're just, the winner stays alive, the loser's probably eliminated.
No, it doesn't have any different feel to not in my eyes.
You still have that same thirst and competitive fire for this 14th as you did for the 3rd and the 4th?
How can you not? I mean, you know, I know what it's like to walk down the tunnel, pull into the stadium, and the importance of this game. So, absolutely, it's impossible not to continue to be excited about it.
We asked some of the players earlier about what it's like to walk down that tunnel. Can you describe it a bit?
It's just incredibly exciting and exhilarating. You know, it's just it's what you want in sports, you know, and in competition.
Do you have a sense of the history when you're doing it? I mean, it's not like this at Kansas State, at Kansas, at Iowa State, at Tech. Do you have a sense of everybody that's come before you down that tunnel?
No, not when I'm walking down it. That's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'll think about that when I'm on a rocking chair somewhere. Hopefully on a rocking chair somewhere, hopefully.
You talked about David Ash's improvement. Where have you seen the most improvement out of him so far?
I just overall, you know, execution, throwing the football and knowing where he wants to go with it, and you know, throws a good ball, you know, accurate. So he does a good job.
Bob, you used the dozer twice on 3rd and 3. Made it once, didn't make it once. Is that sort of the outside of how long you need for the first down to use it? Or did you do that to set up other stuff later in the season, or what was?
And I think it's just different in all situations. How, you know, the first time you gain 8 yards on it, you feel a little more, all right, that 3rd and 2 stretched to 3rd and 3. And then you know, and if you don't pick it up, the next time we're, probably more 3rd and 2, you know. So I think it's more how, you know, how much, you know, we feel confident in it and how they've been dealing with it. And so, you know, again, it's always going to be a little bit different.
Why don't you throw out of it? That'll surprise people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, somewhere down the road we may. In the end, it's one of those situations. If, you know, yeah, that sounds great as long as you complete it, you know. And if you don't, then everyone's thinking, why don't you just run it and get a whole new set of downs? So we'll keep running it the way we have, and I'm sure we'll have some wrinkles to it.
What do you see in Gray, and particularly him from the Wildcat?
Just, you know, very quick, you know, excellent running back. All those guys run the ball well, find seams, you know, got excellent speed and make good cuts. And they, you know, they're in that Wildcat a fair amount too, you know, so that's something that we'll have to spend a lot of time on.
You mentioned earlier open dates and having to deal with the rhythm and how it disrupts you. Could you kind of describe some of the things that happen during an open date, like the 3 days you guys work and then you give them the rest of the time off?
No, we work 4.
Yeah, 4 days.
We go through the week much like a game week. Monday and Thursday, there's more time in the film room, less time on the field. And then Tuesday, Wednesday are heavy work days, and we went certain team sessions against each other. And actually Thursday, we went the entire team period 60, 70 plays against each other. Good against good, or A team and B team, and just rotating back and forth. So we did a lot of that work in the off week.
And guys, I guess after August and after the summers and springs that they put in, and even the winters, they want to play games, I'm presuming, and that's what they get up for, that's what they live for. And then
Sure.
there's an open date. Is that part of it too, the emotional kind of drain? They have to rein it back in?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just maybe there is to a degree. It's just it's hard to make that improvements, if you're not playing games. Again, I think games are where you make the most. You take the more steps and learn the most. And so, that's just how it's happened. It's and everyone knows how the schedule ended up, and we did the best we could.
The full speed nature of the games is what gives you the real look at
Right.
how you're improving.
Yeah, that's the only way to tackle is to be going full speed. And again, everyone, you start doing that against yourself and you get people hurt. It's just the balance you're always trying to have.
14 years now, you and Mac, which you guys are coming up on the longest coaching rivalry in history. You get a charge out of that status?
No, I care less about that. I guess just fortunate that I've been here at a great place that long is all that matters. But I don't look at it one way. I never look at it as this is about the players and the teams and everything else, not Mac and I.
Well, can you talk about McTwire's development, and he's still in the rotation, still going to play? There are a lot of questions out there, but talk about how he's coming along.
There's nothing wrong. I mean, it's just whether it be, and for instance, like Landry said, even after the game, you go through your read progressions, and it isn't about getting the ball to any one guy. You take, sometimes if the defense is overloaded, whether they're rolled up on them with a corner and a safety on top of them, it doesn't look real good. Or, there's just certain situations you can't force it to a guy. You have to, and you're best on offense when you go through your progressions. I can remember way back in the day, my first time with Mike Leach, and he's sitting there yelling at Josh about what coverage he saw and why he thought this guy was going to be open. And Mike says, no. He goes, if this guy's open, you throw it to him. If he isn't open, you throw it to this one. If he's not open, you throw it to the third one. It's right here, and it's that simple. You don't sit there and try and make a guy get this many catches. It just doesn't work.
As a defensive guy, I think 10 different players caught a ball Saturday. As a defensive coach trying to defend that, how much pressure is that put on you when multiple guys are getting involved?
I think that's when you're operating the best. When you're, just as I put it, you're not trying to force the ball to any particular guy. You're taking what they're giving you. Because all coverages have their weaknesses, and it's up to the receivers, quarterback to find those, by going through your read progressions and getting the ball to everybody. That's when I believe the offenses are their best.
The last two running backs that they've defended, Randall and Bowie, on Saturday night sort of went wild. 406 total, I think, between the two. That seems like an obvious vulnerability for them right now. You see that as obvious?
Well, hopefully, that's something we always, just like last week, want to be able to run the football, and be a big part of what we do. So hopefully we can block well enough and recognize what they're doing to block and be able to run. So it always makes a big difference in these games.
Who graded out the best of the offensive linemen?
Lane Johnson did really well, and Gabe Eichert overall did pretty well.
Well, Texas played OSU and West Virginia back-to-back, fairly similar offenses. How similar is your offense? Does that help them at all? Or are you different enough that's so they sort of got to?
Well, we have a lot of the similar concepts that Oklahoma State and West Virginia have. So to a degree, there's some similarities there for sure. But it also allows us to see what what they've been trying to do, in regard to defending them as well.
Do you assume that they will try to do something different? defense that hadn't gone so great for them the last 2 weeks?
Oh, I imagine, you know, they'll have some different wrinkles, sure. But you can only be so different. I mean, you know, all of a sudden change your whole defensive philosophy in a week, you know, before one of your bigger games.
Okay, thanks, everybody.